Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. In today's video we are going to be talking about the PlayStation 5 Pro. So this video isn't going to be about any official announcements or any leaks. This is all just theory crafting and talking about speculation here. So Microsoft recently revealed official details on the Xbox Series X, revealing that it will be a 12 teraflop GPU console. And from a lot of the other leaks, we can basically speculate the Xbox Series X is going to cost $500. Now, we also received news that all of the parts that are going to make up the PlayStation 5 are going to cost Sony about $450. And so in order to make the same amount of profit as they would on a PlayStation 4, they would have to sell it for at least $470. So we've talked about this previously. I made videos about that. So if you guys haven't seen those, you guys should go and check those out. But this is really interesting because all the leaks about the PlayStation 5 so far say that it's going to be about like a 9.3 teraflop console. So this won't bode well for Sony if they try and sell the PlayStation 5 for $500 or even like $450. The only way they'd be able to actually like market and sell the PlayStation 5 reliably would be to sell it for $400. That's the most likely outcome I see, is that the Xbox Series X will be a $500 system and the PlayStation 5 will be a $400 system. But for that extra $100, you're going to be getting a more powerful console. So for some people that might be an appeal to them, but for others, having just a cheaper system that's still next generation will be good enough. But today's video I want to talk about the PlayStation 5 Pro. We've had a few leaks in the past about Sony potentially releasing a PlayStation 5 Pro, and none of these leaks have really held any merit, but there was one leak that basically said that Sony was going to release a PlayStation 5 and a PlayStation 5 Pro this year in 2020. So they're going to release their Pro model alongside their base model. And there's also rumors that Microsoft is doing the same. They're releasing their high-end Xbox Series X, but they're also going to release their Lockhart console, their Xbox Series S, as well this year. But the question I want to pose to you guys is, does the PlayStation 5 Pro make sense? And I think it doesn't for a few reasons. So the first reason is because of performance. Now the PlayStation 5 is supposed to be like a 9.2 or 9.3 teraflop system. So it's going to be vastly superior to any previous console we've ever had. It's going to be 50% better than the Xbox One X, but keep in mind, when we're talking about teraflops, a 6 teraflop Xbox One X doesn't actually like translate almost anything to a 12 teraflop Xbox Series X. You can only compare them when they're like identical architectures. So we will be able to compare PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, but we won't be able to compare those against previous generations or even about NVIDIA GPUs. I've seen people online making comparisons that the Xbox Series X is going to be more powerful than a 2080 Super, but that's not the case. Just because the Xbox Series X will have more teraflops, that doesn't actually mean anything. Teraflops aren't really a measure of performance, and you can see this is that NVIDIA's graphics cards, even having like less theoretical compute power with less teraflops, they still come out ahead in games and have better performance. But like I said, we can still compare Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 because they're going to be using the same Navi and RDNA 2 technology in these systems, so they will be comparable. But if a PlayStation 5 has 9 teraflops and an Xbox Series X has 12, is that really going to mean anything? I honestly don't think so. I think that since this generation is having such an increased jump from the previous one, I think that even a 9 teraflop PlayStation 5 will be able to easily smoke 4K 60 frames per second games, and it'll be able to hit like great level of details and even like pretty high frame rates as well. I wouldn't be surprised if Sony came out and said that the PlayStation 5 could do 120 FPS as well. The difference between 9 teraflops and 12 teraflops isn't as great as it would be from say like the Xbox One X at 6 teraflops to the PlayStation 4 Pro's 4.2. So per performance for the PlayStation 5 Pro, if Sony were to release an upgraded console that had better specs in it, I don't think it would actually make that much sense, because if they released a PlayStation 5 Pro, they might be able to put together a machine that can get higher than 12 teraflops, maybe 13, maybe even 14, something like that. But if they were to do that, they would probably have to sell the console for like $550, maybe $600. I don't think Sony would be able to get a 12 teraflop or greater system for $500 like Microsoft can, because as we all know from those like previous leaks, even getting a 9 teraflop console is going to cost Sony $450. And here's my other point about this is price. Where would the PlayStation 5 Pro fit into Sony's lineup? If the PlayStation 5 releases at $400, where does the PlayStation 5 Pro fit? Is that going to be released at $500, maybe $550, $600? I think that Sony's best bet for this generation is just to release a PlayStation 5 at $400, and then maybe in a year or two, then they can release a PlayStation 5 Pro But I feel like Microsoft's strategy is a little bit better by releasing their top-end gaming console first, releasing that one at $500, and then there's rumors about them releasing an Xbox Series S for about $250 or $300. That way they can have their high-end machine, they can also have their cheap machine. So a PlayStation 5 Pro would be like their high-end machine for what, $500? And then their cheap machine, the PlayStation 5, would be $400? I don't think that makes much sense. And I feel like it also defeats the purpose of having an enhanced console, a PlayStation 5 Pro, is if the PlayStation 5 Pro was like a 12 teraflop system compared to a 9 teraflop system for the PlayStation 5, that's not going to be that great of a jump between those two. What really made the PlayStation 4 Pro special was that it was over twice as powerful as the normal PlayStation 4. So this meant that the PlayStation 4 Pro could do some games at 4K, a lot of games at like 1440p, and it really used like checkerboarding stuff to be a 4K console, whereas the original PlayStation 4 targeted about 1080p. Now that's not going to be the same thing with a PlayStation 5 Pro. A PlayStation 5 is easily going to be able to do 4K. But a PlayStation 5 Pro, what's the appeal there? What is that targeting? Maybe 4K, 120 FPS? I don't know, 6K? 8K? Like, there's nothing there that I can really see them targeting, and no real need for a PlayStation 5 Pro right now. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this. What do you guys think Sony will do about a PlayStation 5 Pro? I mean, Sony was the first manufacturer to actually come out with an enhanced console. They released the PlayStation 4 Pro back in 2016, and then it took Microsoft until a year later to release their Xbox One X. But all in all, I think Sony's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, because their PlayStation 5 isn't going to be as powerful as Microsoft's high-end system, but it's also not going to be like underpowered enough that they could sell it for really cheap. It's in this weird middle ground kind of gray area where it's $400, so it's not a budget system, but it's also not like super high-end, top-line, best performance either. So by Sony releasing another system, it just really muddies the water a lot, whereas I feel like Microsoft's strategy is the best here by releasing a very high-end system for $500, and then they can also release a lower-powered system for like $250 or $300. But either way, I'm sure the PlayStation 5 will sell extremely well for $400. I think 9 teraflops will be fine for this generation, and I'm sure that we're going to be able to play plenty of games at 4K, and there will be lots of great exclusives and great games for the PlayStation 5. I just think that the PlayStation 5 Pro is kind of a strange idea currently, but who knows, we might see one down the line, kind of similar to how Sony released the PlayStation 4 in 2013, and it took them 3 years to actually release the PlayStation 4 Pro. So maybe by 2023, there will be an actual market for them to release a higher powered system, a PlayStation 5 Pro. By then, we'll be on like Zen 3, maybe even like Zen 4, and like RDNA 3 or RDNA 4. So technology will have advanced significantly by then, and I think by then it would make sense for them to release a new console that could potentially target 8K gaming. But this is all just in theory, and this is all just speculation. I don't think that Sony will actually release a PlayStation 5 Pro. I also don't think that they'll be able to release a lower powered system. In my opinion, I think Sony will probably just keep the PlayStation 4 around for a while as their budget gaming system, and then they'll have their PlayStation 5 as their next generation high fidelity gaming console. But that's going to do it for our video today, guys. I want to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. What do you guys think about the potential of a PlayStation 5 Pro? I think the leaks might have made sense a while ago, but I think with Sony's current strategy of releasing a 9 teraflop system for $400, I don't think that there's any room for a PlayStation 5 Pro in their lineup. So let me know your guys' thoughts on this in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and I'll see you guys next time.